You think honesty always protects you? You believe openness builds connection. You were taught that sharing everything makes relationships stronger. But Carl Jung discovered something deeply uncomfortable about human psychology. The more of your inner world you expose, the more power you silently hand away. And most people learn this lesson only after betrayal. After they trusted someone who later used their vulnerability like a weapon. Listen carefully, because the strongest individuals are not those who hide out of fear, but those who understand psychological boundaries. Jung called this the protection of the self. Not everyone deserves access to your inner reality. Not everyone can hold your truth without distorting it. And today, we will uncover 4 things you should never reveal to anyone, no matter how close they seem. Because once spoken, these things can never be taken back. The first thing you must never reveal is your deepest long-term vision. Your future dreams feel innocent to share. When excitement fills your heart, you want validation? You want someone to say, yes, you can do it? But Jung warned that unconscious envy exists even in people who love you. When you reveal a powerful vision too early, others project their own fears onto it. Suddenly your dream becomes smaller. Doubts appear where certainty once lived. Someone laughs softly. Someone questions your ability. Someone says, be realistic. And without realizing it, your psyche absorbs that skepticism. The dream loses energy. Jung believed creative visions are fragile psychological seeds. They must grow in silence before exposure to the world. When a seed is pulled from the soil too early, it dies. Your vision works the same way. Share results, not intentions. Because many people support success, but very few can emotionally tolerate witnessing your becoming. The second thing you should never reveal is your deepest emotional wounds. Modern culture encourages radical vulnerability. People say, open up completely. But Jung understood shadow psychology. When you expose unresolved pain, you reveal the exact map of where you can be controlled. Some people consciously comfort you while unconsciously storing information about your insecurities. Later, during conflict, those same wounds return disguised as criticism. You're too sensitive. That's why people leave you. Words suddenly strike exactly where you hurt the most. Not everyone weaponizes vulnerability intentionally, but the human psyche remembers weakness. This is why Jung emphasized individuation, healing yourself before displaying your scars publicly. True strength is not pretending you were never hurt. True strength is choosing carefully who earns the privilege of knowing your pain. Emotional intimacy must be gradual, not impulsive. Because oversharing creates false closeness. Real connection grows through trust tested over time. The strongest souls understand something painful. Loneliness caused by silence is temporary. But betrayal caused by exposure leaves permanent psychological marks. Many people regret speaking too much. Almost no one regrets protecting their inner world. And here's what most people never realize. Silence is not secrecy. Silence is self. The world teaches you to explain yourself constantly. Jung taught the opposite. The mature personality does not rush to be understood. It allows misunderstanding if necessary to preserve inner stability. Because your psyche is sacred territory, and access to sacred places must be earned, not granted freely. But what you're about to hear next is even more dangerous, because the third hidden truth people reveal unknowingly destroys their personal power without them ever noticing it. The third thing you should never reveal to anyone is your full strategy and personal moves before they happen. Most people confuse transparency with authenticity. They believe explaining every plan makes them trustworthy. But Carl Jung understood a harsh psychological reality. Once people know your moves, they begin relating to you differently. Some will compete silently, some will interfere unintentionally, and others will withdraw support because your growth forces them to confront their own stagnation. Human beings operate through unconscious comparison. Even kind people measure themselves against those around them. When you openly reveal your next step, your ambitions, your timing, or your personal transformation process, you invite invisible resistance. Suddenly advice appears everywhere. Doubt enters conversations. Opinions multiply. And slowly your internal clarity becomes external noise. Jung believed that psychological energy follows attention. When you talk excessively about future actions, your mind receives premature satisfaction, almost as if the goal has already been achieved. This drains motivation. You feel progress without actually moving forward. That is why many people announce big changes but never follow through. The psyche mistakes talking for becoming. Silence, however, concentrates power. Notice how truly successful individuals often move quietly. Promotions appear suddenly. Transformations seem overnight. Relationships change without warning. This is not coincidence. It is psychological protection. When actions mature privately, they become resistant to outside influence. Jung described individuation as an inner journey that must occur away from collective pressure. Your evolution is not a group project. It is a sacred negotiation between your conscious self and your unconscious depths. And here lies the uncomfortable truth. Not everyone wants to see you change. Even those who care about you may unconsciously prefer the version of you they understand. Growth disrupts familiarity. When you become stronger, more confident, or emotionally independent, old dynamics collapse. People who benefited from your past insecurity may feel threatened by your stability. So they question your decisions. They warn you. They remind you of who you used to be. And if you have already revealed your plan, their voices gain access to your inner dialogue. You start doubting yourself before even beginning. Jung warned that the developing personality must protect its emerging identity like a flame in the wind. Too much exposure extinguishes transformation. This is why silence is not manipulation. Silence is incubation. Work quietly, heal privately, build internally. Let outcomes speak instead of explanations. Because explanation invites judgment, but results command respect. Think about moments when you spoke less and achieved more. There was calm focus, pressure to perform publicly, no need for approval, just movement forward. That is psychological alignment. But when you overshare, you become emotionally tied to other people's reactions. You start adjusting your path based on their expectations rather than your authentic self. Jung believed authenticity requires separation from collective opinion during critical phases of growth. You must become before you announce. You must transform before you explain. Otherwise, your identity forms around validation instead of truth. And here is the paradox. The less you announce, the more powerful your presence becomes. People sense mystery. They feel stability. They notice change without understanding how it happened. Quiet progress creates psychological authority. You no longer convince others of your strength. They experience it naturally. Yet the fourth and final thing Jung warned about is the most dangerous revelation of all, because people share it daily without realizing they are slowly giving away their emotional freedom. The fourth thing you should never reveal to anyone is how much someone truly means to you when they have not proven emotional responsibility. This truth is the most painful because it touches the deepest human need, the desire to be seen, loved, and valued. Carl Jung believed that love awakens the unconscious faster than anything else. When you deeply care about someone, your defenses soften. You reveal devotion, loyalty, emotional dependence. You think honesty will strengthen the bond. But psychologically, something subtle begins to shift the moment your emotional investment becomes fully visible. Human nature often values what feels uncertain more than what feels guaranteed. When someone realizes they hold immense emotional importance in your life, the balance of power changes. Not always consciously, not always intentionally, but the dynamic transforms. Your fear of losing them quietly grows, while their fear of losing you may decrease. Jung explained that relationships mirror inner psychological structures. When one person becomes emotionally overexposed while the other remains guarded, attachment turns into imbalance. You begin adjusting yourself to maintain connection. You tolerate behaviors you once rejected. You silence needs to avoid conflict. And slowly, without realizing it, you abandon parts of your authentic self. This is not love. This is psychological surrender. Jung warned that individuation requires maintaining inner sovereignty even within intimacy. Real connection happens when two whole individuals meet, not when one person dissolves into the other. The danger of revealing excessive emotional dependence is that it invites unconscious testing. People start pushing boundaries to confirm how much you will endure. They cancel plans casually. They respond inconsistently. They withdraw affection, temporarily. And each time, your reaction teaches them how much control they possess. The tragedy is that many people believe devotion must be proven through sacrifice. But Jung's psychology suggests the opposite. Healthy love grows where mystery, self-respect, and emotional independence remain intact. The strongest attraction exists when affection is felt but not desperately displayed. When someone knows you care yet senses you will not abandon yourself to keep them. Emotional privacy protects dignity. It allows love to develop without turning into possession or dependency. Jung believed the self, your deepest identity, must remain centered regardless of external relationships. When your emotional world depends entirely on another person, you lose connection with your own inner authority. And once inner authority fades, anxiety replaces peace. You begin seeking reassurance instead of experiencing security. This is why silence about your deepest attachment is not emotional coldness. It is emotional maturity. Love fully, but maintain psychological independence. Care deeply, but never place your entire sense of worth into another human being's hands. Because people change, circumstances shift, relationships evolve, and if your identity rests outside yourself, every change feels like collapse. But when your center remains protected, loss becomes painful yet survivable. You remain whole even when connections end. Jung described this as individuation becoming emotionally self-contained while still capable of profound love. Now step back and look at the 4 things you must never reveal too freely. Your deepest vision, your unhealed wounds, your future strategies, and your emotional dependence. These are not secrets born from fear. They are boundaries born from Wisdom. The world rewards those who understand selective openness. You do not need to hide who you are. You simply need to recognize that access to your inner world must be earned through consistency, respect, and time. The strongest individuals are not mysterious because they play games. They are mysterious because they protect what is sacred. And here is Jung's final lesson. Maturity begins the moment you stop trying to be fully understood by everyone. Not everyone will know your dreams. Not everyone will understand your silence. Not everyone will see your emotional depth. And that is perfectly acceptable, because your life is not a performance for public approval. It is a psychological journey toward wholeness. Speak less about what is growing inside you. Move quietly toward who you are becoming. Let actions reveal your evolution. Let's replace the explanation. And one day, people will look at you and sense strength they cannot define. They will feel boundaries they cannot cross. They will respect a depth they cannot manipulate. Not because you changed the world, but because you finally learned to protect your inner one.